Hello, patrons, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult's monthly review thing. Hi.
Hi, we should probably come up with a catchy name for our...
Well, I do call them cult members on the...
No, I know, for our monthly...
Our monthly reviews, yeah, that we're doing for our Patreon. We should come up with something.
Not to be confused with the one that we poll. This is the...
This is our $5 level. People get to tell us once every 6 months of a video to watch, and that's what this is. This is going to be for THX 1138.
Right.
So we're asking you, the patrons, to come up with a name and let us know, because
we can't think of all the things.
My brain is a little fried with all the stuff that I've been doing for the channel lately. First off, we want to talk about this is actually for our February that we would normally have done within the month of February. The problem was that our other hobby, February is our most busy month.
Yeah. Because
our largest event happens. A lot of you already know this, but our event was kind of wet. And so we've been...
This is wet. This is wet.
So we've been running around trying to get ready for the event, and then once the event happened, trying to save people and find our underwear and clean mud off of everything. So we've been a little behind. So we're going to do this one, and then we have our monthly poll one that we're going to do next, and we'll talk about that one too.
Yep.
But this was suggested by our $5 level person, Michael Brogy, who was at the event with us and actually came to the house. We should have had him come into the studio so you actually see where the whole world
we could have done like a guest appearance.
We could have done something really quick.
We failed.
We're working on something maybe possibly for more patrons in the future, but we'll see what happens there. But this was his suggestion, was THX 1138, which is George Lucas's debut film.
Directorial debut. Yes.
Debut.
And then he also wrote and did... There was a couple other credits for him on it as well. He co-wrote with somebody else.
He directed it. It was executive produced by Francis Ford Coppola, who was a friend of his.
Yep.
He also had help from Walter Murrick, who did a bunch of stuff for The Godfathers and stuff like that, who helped write it.
Yeah.
This was actually an extension of his student film that he did at his last year at USC.
Yep.
And that one was called Electric Labyrinth, THX 1138. 4EB, because, that was, art school titles and stuff like that.
Right. Got to have some big, long name.
Right. And that was critically acclaimed by everybody. It won a bunch of different awards at different things.
The film school one?
The USC Film School won a whole bunch of stuff, and everybody looked at him and said, he is the future. And he became friends with Francis Ford Coppola out of that. And so they actually did this film, 1971.
Right.
So I want to talk about the technical stuff that I saw, and you can talk about the story itself.
Yep.
Since we both that version of the world. So, story?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. So we got done, and this was a very 1970s sci-fi story, and I don't know what came first, but it was Soylent Green, 2001: Space Odyssey,
Planet of the Apes,
right. Logan's Run, very much that, everything, like the sterile environment to the shocking ending. I guess we don't want to spoil this. I don't know. I mean,
it's 40 plus years old at this point in time.
Yeah. So
Robert Duvall escapes, finds the sun. There's the end.
Right. Yeah. Logan's Run.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes. Right. The story's very. It's also very 70s, right? The faceless man, the faceless enforcer, police, whatever. Yeah. You're going to work and doing this mindless job that means nothing to you. And what is your life? What's the meaning of your life when all you do is go to work and then go home to this person you don't actually even know it was an assigned roommate, right? And then
you have no emotional connection to that person because they take all of your emotion out.
They drug you
and
the medicine cabinet, which was, kind of a theme back then in the 70s, mommy's little helper, that kind of thing.
Right.
Just take a pill and you'll feel better. And then, the kind of brainwashing and breaking out and so it was I felt like I'd seen this movie. It was different, and I'm sure you'll talk about this, but the art direction, that was all very different and possibly very cutting edge.
It was very cutting edge for the early 1970s.
Yeah.
You have to remember when he did his arts, the USC film thing, it was 67.
Yeah.
And it has much of the same feel as this one does, just a little bit bigger budget on this one.
Yeah. And I mean, I just looking at, I don't want to steal the technical, but just looking at some of the stuff that they did, I was like, wow, seems pretty advanced. And it's not like cardboard cutout
things. They actually have physical monitors and actual switches that actually switched, and they
and the tunnels, the race scenes and stuff. They were actually on some road somewhere.
And they showed a lot of like if you really look at for 1971. At that point in time, big budget movies weren't really a thing at that point in time. Like big, epics and stuff like that. There were some, but they weren't really the norm as they were.
Maybe not big budget sci-fi movies.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
big budget sci-fi movies they really didn't start going until Star Wars.
Yeah,
but this was a kind of, you can see how the groundwork was laid on the technical side of things, and how he used sound and background, like over the loudspeaker kind of talking, and the use of physical controls on the boards and stuff like that. Yeah. And you get a lot of that all laid out in front of you in this, and there's a lot of different sounds and different things that were used in the background that you'll hear a lot within Star Wars. A lot of the ting in the loudspeakers you could kind of hear, and there's like noises and stuff like that. The other thing too was that a lot of what this movie is, at least the way it's shot wise, is very basic costumes, very basic set, very basic, like very minimalistic. Which was kind of a cool way. It's supposed to relay a sterileness to it.
Right. Everything is black and white, and they have no emotions, they have no feelings, there's no color.
And they reinforce that with the set and the lighting and everything like that. The other part too is there's a car chase at the end, and there's officers chasing Robert Duvall's character, who is THX 1138. The cars themselves, like being a car guy, like it was super cool to see how they actually spent the money on the cars.
Yeah, those were like Formula One.
They're like Lotus.
Yeah.
Formula One dressed up like things.
Jets on the back.
Jets and giant wings and stuff. For me, I think. I'm glad I saw this, and I really wanted to see it. It was actually on my list of movies I was going to do, and I'm glad we saw it. But this is part of my problem with going back and seeing quote-unquote classic movies, is at this point in time in my movie-going life, I've seen all of these tropes. And these tropes are all been set up because of movies like this. And
but at this point, instead of...
It's really hard. Go ahead.
Instead of it being something new and fresh and, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before, which we get today in movies, right? You go see some big spectacular sci-fi movie or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, how'd they make a monkey talk, right? So
on a TV show.
Instead of that, it's more of I get how we got where we are today because of this stuff. And like you said, the kind of, you're like, oh, that was in Star Wars, and they're actually forced to make the faceless man, which is wrong. And they look like C-3PO, right? Until they put the face on him, they look like C-3PO. So it's kind of cool to go back and see kind of how he got to where he is today, or how we got to where we are today. As far as, this, it's not something I'd probably watch again. It wasn't anywhere near as hard as a watch as last month's.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it. I got it. It's just, again, it's the same kind of story as a lot of early 70s sci-fi movies.
Yeah. Robert Duvall's performance is interesting. Very physical at times because he has to, portray that mindlessness that he is, but also that he can be controlled, and so he's having to do certain movements when they take over control of him, and the reconditioning.
I want to know if he actually really rolled his eyes back in his head. That was creepy.
But overall, to be really honest, as much as I love George Lucas and I love the sci-fi genre, I really, really struggled on having it keep my attention.
I get that. Again, it's, I'm a little older than you are,
right?
So I remember kind of this stuff and
it's not that I haven't seen some of those artsy. I love artsy sci-fi specifically, but this just it was cool. I liked it, but that's it. I mean, I
don't know that I'd watch it again, but I'm glad we watched it, and I think that it will help in our perspective of watching other movies to kind of understand.
Absolutely. I'm not going to give it a score. I mean, we could score these if we want to.
No, this isn't a movie you score.
Yeah.
Because
my score would be really shitty, and I don't want to do that. I want to. This will be one I probably will come back to in my head when I watch something else, like you're saying.
Right.
Just like,
that's like scoring Gone with the Wind. I mean, this is you could say this is a classic. This is a top 100 movies you should watch before you die.
Yeah, it is. So that is our thoughts on THX 1138. Thank you for Michael for suggesting this. We will now we will have another video for March. We'll actually, like I said on the Patreon page, we're going to double up in March to catch up for February. So we will... now
we have our poll movie.
We have to do a poll movie now from February, which is going to be interesting to watch. But
and then you need to upload our stuff for March so that we can do that later in March. Yeah, 15th.
Yeah, something like that. So we'll figure out what we're doing there. And I believe Joel is next. I think Joel, you're next. So I will contact you and let you know about picking your movie. And share our YouTube channel and share our Facebook page and all that stuff with your friends and help us out get more patrons.
Yes, because we're going to run out before the end of the 6 months of our $5 patrons.
Right.
So if you want us to continue to watch good movies, not the worst movie you can possibly think of.
Yeah, we want
The Road.
good movies that maybe you haven't.
Not that these have been bad, just saying.
I don't know about that first one.
It was very artsy.
Yeah, very French. All right, patrons, thank you for watching, and until next time, good afternoon now.